Hello there. My name is Moses Wisdom Tibaje. Who am I talking to?
Hi, you're speaking to Trizzah Morris Omondi. Yes, that is me.
Good, what's the time? Good afternoon, Trizzah. 8 minutes to afternoon.
It, yeah, it's 8 minutes to mid morning, so it's good morning. Yes, good
My
morning.
goodness, you insist on
Yeah,
that one. Okay. Is it, when does it become afternoon? Because I know there's morning, there's noon. When does it become
afternoon.
afternoon?
Yeah,
Like literally afternoon.
is it even one? Yeah, 1 minute after 12 is afternoon.
Okay.
By
Okay.
English standards, it's afternoon. Yeah,
How are you feeling today?
I'm doing well. Despite the look of exhaustion, I am not exhausted. I
Mm.
am absolutely okay. How are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you. I have had an interesting day in that final
Mm.
phase of life at university. So I have a couple of classes, projects, but
Mm.
this is part of actually my projects. And thank you very
Great.
much for
Mm.
agreeing to be my interviewee. I appreciate that.
Anytime.
I am looking forward to
Anytime.
getting to know what it looks like out there in the job, with the
Yeah.
experts and all. Uh, Basically, to get into your daily routine, your schedule, to understand what exactly goes on, that among other things,
Absolutely.
and then ultimately to,
Mm-hmm.
well,
Mm-hmm.
to pass this class. um,
Oh, great. I will ensure from my end you pass this class.
ah,
Yeah.
Thank you. In your own wording, what
Yeah.
what would you say is your specialization?
I am a radio host by specialization. So I don't exactly do news. I do the interactive bit of radio. So first of all, my name is Trizzah. I work at Radio Light and Life, which is a community radio station. So I
Mm,
specialize in special programs, which is a children's show, which is my specialization. I think we did that back in school. Special um, types of presenters. We have sports presenters, we have business presenters. I am a show host. So what I do is I've specialized in the art of having interactive discussions with people concerning current affairs, things that matter, limited to the Christian perspective, but very interactive. That's where my specialization is.
you said it. You work at Light and Life. That's the name of the
Yes,
radio station,
yes,
and I
yes,
understand it is a Christian-based uh, radio
yes,
station. How
yes.
is that? How is that? How does that work?
Yeah, it's interesting because, to be honest, radio is it's like a spotlight for the community.
Mm,
Radio has been said to it has for so many years. Guys said radio is dying, and radio is very much alive. So now, when it's Christian based, it means whatever is happening, you have to bring it to a point where it it tallies with what the Bible says, because everything
mm,
eventually goes back to being biblical. So if it's elections, if it's COVID, which is currently what we are going through, if it's whatever situation is happening, we have to narrow it down to a Christian perspective. So we shed off the secular perspective, personal opinions, and narrow it down to a basic question, which is, what would Jesus expect you to do in such a
mm.
situation? Not purely putting off personal opinions, because that life is made of that. So we have personal opinions about what we think is going on, but then eventually we bring it to, as Christians, how do we tackle these issues? How do we tackle current affairs? How do we tackle
Mm.
societal mishaps? Because we can't just assume that things are not happening because we're a Christian radio station. So we can't turn a blind eye to politics. We can't turn a blind eye to gender-based violence, which genuinely is one of the biggest issues that's happening currently. We
Yeah.
cannot afford. But what we do is we narrow it down. We try to narrow everything down to a Christian perspective, not trying to blindfold people to the truth, but trying to bring it to what Jesus says. So that's how Christian radio is. Everything that's happening, not trying to turn a blind eye, but trying to see it from Jesus' point of view, or at least from a Christian point of view. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess that means there is incorporation of Jesus in everything. It's not what I get from what you're saying is it's not Jesus only, but it's rather everything
Yes.
with Jesus in it.
Yes, absolutely. Everything with Jesus in it. And maybe from maybe because I know you've had experience with the Christian radio station, which is
Yeah.
Shine.
Yes.
You can't always explain things from a Christian point of view.
Yeah.
But you can always try to incorporate Jesus in what you're saying. For instance, a topic that is very close to my heart that I'm always doing, I'm always when it comes to health-based talks and both mental health, physical health, emotional health, I do those interviews a lot. And really, when it comes to physical health, of course, Jesus is the healer. But when you're bringing sensitive uh, discussions on board, if you're having an interview about a condition, let me use a very interesting condition called fistula, which was one of the most interesting interviews I've done in my career. And fistula is a condition that affects women who've gone through childbirth.
Yeah.
And so, with such discussions, there's really, where would you bring Jesus in such a healthy discussion? But eventually, after you've stated the facts, you've talked to a survivor, you've talked to a medic, and they let you know how these things happen. Eventually, you do bring it that there is hope, both medical hope and spiritual hope for such a person who's gone through that. So we don't force issues and say, Jesus heals no matter the situation. Say hallelujah. We will bring the facts to the table, the symptoms, the signs, whatever surround such illnesses, and then we talk to a professional. We see how to go about it, even how to help come up with finances for such instances, and then we wrap it up with a prayer, because eventually everything is covered spiritually. So that's how we go about our discussions and our shows.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
As a radio announcer who actually recently came from Daystar University, yeah, there is hope for us who are on the road. To
There is.
What are some of the
Yeah.
challenges you've faced, maybe on a daily, like
Um. Mhm.
things that you find challenging, situations that you find challenging in your profession, in your career?
Right. Something that I used to say, but I'm not. I cannot afford to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Is what you call. Um. I'll use the general term, which is specialization. As a radio presenter, I have to be in check and in terms with everything that's happening. I
Mm,
used to think that I could specialize in a particular area, which you can, but as you specialize, you have to be well aware of what's happening everywhere, from the business world
business.
to the political world. And I struggled with it because, first of all, I'm not a huge fan of politics. But when COVID came as a pandemic, it was a emergence of politics, health, business, entrepreneurship, because people took COVID from all angles. Some saw it as a business
I mean,
opportunity,
don't
then there
forget
was
the religious
politics involved.
aspect
And
of
so
it
I,
also.
mm, exactly. So COVID just had to break my boundaries. I had to know a bit of politics. In fact, I had to interview both a medic, a government official. I had to interview so many people in the process. And it makes you realize there's so many angles to COVID. I personally was a patient of COVID. So someone had to interview me as a patient. A colleague of mine had to interview me as a patient. When I came out of being interviewed as a patient, I had to interview a government official. He gave me aspects from the government point of view. And as much as I'd like to say I do not want to look at politics, I had to. So those are some of the struggles I went through, because now I have to sit and deliberately watch news, which I did back in campus. It was emphasized, but now you have to watch
Yeah.
intentionally to get the points of what's happening, what's going on in the world very diligently. So even if it wasn't a hobby, you have to make it a hobby,
Mm.
that you know what's going on, you know what's happening, because otherwise, how will you pass information that you don't have? Secondly, I happen to be the youngest in my organization. So from a personal point of view and from personal experiences, the world doesn't really wait for you to be ready. When you're thrown into the market, you have to be as equally prepared as the others have.
Mm.
There's no chance for, okay, my organization gave me the leeway to learn, but a lot of times you're expected to perform as well as the others.
Mm.
I've had people who've been here for 13 years. My supervisor, when I was still new, has worked in Citizen, she's worked in KTN. And so when I came, she expected me to perform. And when I was employed, I was expected to perform as well as she does. So you have to push yourself so hard because this is an industry that's always changing, it's always evolving. If you sit down, a trend emerges. If you relax, a trend emerges. So for those who like to be comfortable, it pushes you sometimes to even breaking down. I
Mm.
have to do this, I have to get this right, I have to get this properly. And yes, class gives you the basics, but when you're in the field and you have to record a package and edit that package, the reality of what Mr. Wanyoni teaches you comes to life. Yeah, it does come to life. Because in class, you'll be given a week, 2 days, 3 days to package something, a news product. Out here,
You're
you'll
given a
just
few
be told you'll be
hours.
seated one day. Hours. Let me tell you, there's a day I was seated. And then my boss just said, Trizzah, there's a lady in Litain who we need to get. It's Cancer Awareness Month. We need to get her story, get it running by tomorrow morning. I was being told this at midday. There's even no time for panicking. Panic will have to wait first. Panic has to take a back seat. Figure out how you're getting to Litain, record the lady, come back, edit the full package so that it's airing by the following day in the morning. Then after, that's when you can call in panic, you can call in tears and say, "Oh my God, oh Lord." After, so there is
Incredible.
no room to panic.
Wow.
You have to be on toes. Yeah, those are some of the challenges I've experienced. But over time, you get the hang of it. You get the muscle for it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that is
Mhm.
what can I say? Interesting, challenging, motivating, also a bit like you know, but
I know.
it is well. It is well. On to the next
Yeah.
one.
Hmm.
I know you've
Hmm.
only just freshly moved out of a college lifestyle and you've been just recently introduced
Yes.
into the field. But have you, what
Hmm.
different positions have you held in the broadcast field?
All right. When I came in as an intern, I did news.
Mm-hmm.
So I was writing, I was collecting news. So I was in the news department for a month. Then I was moved to the editorial department. So I edited voiceovers and voice boxes and did quite a bit of that. In fact, I knew I was going to be in editing, which is something I didn't think I enjoyed, but especially audio production. So I did a lot of editing. So I was in the editorial. Then I was moved to production. So we are only two because our radio station is Kiswahili based. We are only two English presenters. So me and my boss. So there are three English shows. So I do two of them, one which is weekly, and then so I'm the main English
Oh my
department. Yeah,
God.
English is just me
Wow.
mainly, and then my I am the entire department. Literally, I am the entire department. So I was now when I was moved to editing, now I was given a shorter editing, which now sent me to production. So because I'm the only one in the department, and my boss's show was already well developed, so I had to learn how to produce my own show, get content for my own show, decipher what target audience I needed. And so I have had a few shifts from news to editing to production. So production married with show hosting.
Which
So
one?
while I was learning the dynamics of being a
Which one would you say is your favorite one?
editing.
For real?
I enjoyed editing. Yes, I did. I enjoyed editing. There was an adrenaline rush to being told, Trizzah, we need this thing up and running in 1 hour. There was a rush to it. And so me seated there on the computer, looking at with the software for editing sound, at a point I'd be like, me, I'm done with this. And then I get back to it and I still do it. It was exhilarating. Though show hosting is it was uncharted territory for me. The reason show hosting doesn't come first for me is because as a presenter, it's especially for shows and shows that are very individual oriented. Because
Mm.
my shows are not, they're not, we're talking about business, we're talking about this, they're very personal things. Yes, I do talk about business sometimes, but also from a very personal angle. It's very hard to separate my personal opinions of a matter and the and what is the professional aspect.
Yeah.
Because initially I thought I could, but my boss said because of the show I have to be very personal. And so being very personal is hard because you have to come clean, especially when you're talking about things concerning mental health. Of course, I have most of my shows are spiritual based. So we'll have a scripture, we talk about it. They are very personal. And the problem with personal shows is that they weigh you down.
Mm.
They weigh you down.
Mm.
There are days I'm talking about forgiveness. And you have to give, the listeners will only relate if you have a personal experience. And it gets so frustrating because if you don't give them a personal experience, they don't relate and they don't talk, they just listen. But once you tell them, I had this issue and I had to go through it this way, now they start telling you, this is also what I went through, this is what I went through. Those days I hit responses on I have like a dozen phone calls coming in, messages coming over, even up to over 60, and I can't read all of them. Facebook, they're active, and it's because you've given them something to talk about.
Yeah.
And so for me, it gets very hard. Unlike news, you're telling them this is what's happening. I don't need to give you my personal opinion. This is what's going on. If I'm having a
Just
medical
do a
interview,
script and that's
the
the
doctor
end.
is saying the fact, yes, and that's the end of it. But those really intimate shows when you're talking about loss and grief, and you have to get so personal, it
Mhm.
weighs you down. And so I've had to I personally once in a while have to sit down and detox with someone and tell them it's been a long week, I've been talking about this, it's been rough, so that I keep myself in check.
Speaking
Otherwise, hosting a show would be the top
something
of my
that
list. Hmm.
something else that comes up is what effect does this have on your mental health? Sorry for making it a bit personal, but it actually is quite a thing to be
Oh,
concerned about, especially
it's okay, yeah.
amongst broadcasters and people who work
Yes.
in media. Maybe you're given a gruesome story to cover or a very personal story, like you have said, and they're flowing in by the buckets. There's so many things
Yeah.
coming around.
Yeah.
You rarely have
Hmm.
time to deal with yourself, like Trizzah to deal with
Yes.
Cerulo, you know,
Yeah.
Cerulo. I just said Cerulo, gosh. But
Yes.
yeah,
Aurora.
like, has that in along the way, has it had any effect on your mental health?
I'd be lying if I said it hasn't. In fact, I think some of the most affected people when it comes to mental health are journalists and broadcasters
Hmm.
because we get the information firsthand. We are expected to have our emotions in check. As we deliver the news, deliver it to people in a way that, should I say, is not too gruesome. We get the news gruesomely. And the people for me currently at the top of my list who should really be concerned about their mental health is broadcasters. Imagine getting a story and we get and lately who killed who gruesomely and you have to go report some, and even photographers broadcast, I don't even know how they're called, and you have to go collect the news yourself. You have to go hear from eyewitnesses what happened. You're in the scene of crime.
Hmm.
It is, let me tell you, a lot of us here are suffering, a lot of us. And that's away from the fact that already our personal lives are newsworthy. Whatever you do is going to be on the spotlight. And so I have had to be very intentional, which I have failed miserably at having someone who I talk to,
Yeah.
because this is not a journey you can go through alone, wisdom. And I wish we were told that in school, that not only does it train you physically, but the amount of mental breakdowns I have personally experienced in the office. The reason I was taken off news is, if I can be very genuine, is
Yeah.
because I was reporting on COVID, the first COVID case in the country. I was reporting, and I broke down because I felt like the government isn't doing much. I had my own personal opinions in the matter,
Mm.
and my boss saw how hard I took the COVID cases when we were reporting the first COVID case, and he said, Trizzah, no, this thing is taking a toll on me.
Yeah.
So he moved me to editing because you have to. We are being asked to put a pause on how we feel and 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 air out very difficult information, then deal with yourself, deal with how that information that you've aired as you deal with your own personal stuff later.
Later,
it
yeah.
it's more than one can carry as a person. And so one class that should be genuinely introduced is mental health and media, if I can be
Mm.
very honest.
Mm.
It's the media and mental health,
I
because
mean,
we break down so much.
there is plenty of space for such a class, I'm sure. After all, we do like so many other hundreds of other classes that are not too useful. We could put
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that could
Yeah,
be.
because we do media ethics, we do media and music, we do everything except how to survive in the media world
Mm.
mentally. And fine, they'll say we can take psychology electives or something, or as a minor. But it doesn't come close to what you're going to experience, let me tell you. There should be a specific class on media and mental health.
I shall,
Genuinely
I
speaking.
shall absolutely. I promise. I'll bring that up in discussion
Yes.
with our
Yeah.
HOD.
Yeah.
You have mentioned something
Yeah.
about this time you were in a salon and people were listening to you, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've gotten snippets of your show. I mean, I'm far away. I mean,
Uh-huh.
not even Nairobi. This is Machakos, so
Mayakos, yes.
I cannot get to hear your show. But evidently, you
Yes.
have such a melodic voice. You have such charm in your voice. I'm sure people will get stuck on the radio just listening to you, and you have the voice. I mean,
Uh,
so
we bless the Lord.
in the execution of your shows, d- or rather before
Mhm,
that, do you engage in any articulation, breathing, voice
mhm,
exercises?
mhm, mhm. So first of all, I drink a lot of water. That one I have to say, because imagine you have a 2 hour show. Um, 2 hours looks like a short time until you're alone,
Until you start.
and so your voice, yeah, until you start. Because the maximum time I took in class, the maximum exam I had for radio was 1 hour, and out of that 1 hour, 15 minutes was music. So I was told the requirement was 15 minutes maximum music, which means I only had 45 minutes of talk time. Which so I'd break it down: for every 15 minutes, 5 minutes of music, every 15 minutes, 5 minutes of music, every 15 minutes, 5 minutes of music. But out here it's a 2 hour show. Best remember that if you delay any further, nothing is stopping them from switching on the TV. So you have to be very deliberate. So sometimes by the time you're done, you're 30 minutes into a show, your voice is already cracking, which means I have to constantly be having water. By the way, I'm always having water because it's not easy talking for 2 hours. So first of all, even before I go to voice exercises, I'm always ensuring I'm hydrated.
Mm.
Secondly, yes, you have to practice. It won't fall from heaven. It will not fall from heaven. And so the practice is what now I take as vocal exercises.
Mm.
Because my first show, Wisdom, I sat on that console, I looked at the microphone, and my boss was supervising me. I looked at him and I
And,
spoke for 5 minutes and went on a break. And broke down because I didn't know what I was doing. And so eventually he told me breathe in, breathe out. It's important too. Not only does it help with your voice, it keeps you calm. So breathe in, breathe out. There are people who have microphone phobia. Yani just seeing a
mm.
microphone, panic. So yes, I once back in the day, I'd breathe in, breathe out. Eventually, when I got comfortable, I have to be genuine. I no longer do those exercises,
Mm.
but I really
Now that you're the
genuinely some of
real
them.
OG, you got it.
Oh no,
You know?
no, I'm not the real OG. There are days, there are shows I'm always hoping. I hope no one knows, and I hope there's no one who personally knows who listens to this show, because the things I no 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 no. So eventually, they helped me calm down. They helped me develop stamina. They helped me even find a radio voice, because how I talk on radio is not how, okay, it comes close to how I talk on
All
a
right,
normal
all
day,
right,
but
all
need
right,
the
all
meaning.
right. That's enough. How about
Yeah.
you give me 3 lines in
Yeah.
your radio voice,
Uh-huh.
please?
Uh-huh. Oh no.
Yes.
I can't do it on okay, I can do it on command,
Just,
but God's
just,
wisdom, no.
just do the intro for your show.
On the intro. Let me close my eyes. Please close your eyes. You close your eyes.
I'll
You can
close
just
mine. I'll close
listen. I
mine.
think the intro. Okay, I think the intro goes like a lovely evening to you. Thank you so much for joining me. Of course, you know you're listening to Radio
Yeah.
Light and Life 107.3 FM. And this is Trizzah. You know me, of course. I bless the Lord for you guys. How have you been? Okay, mainly that and many other things because I'm always talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Wow.
talk as if I'm talking to one person. So I'm like, yo, how are you? Okay, not yo, but professional. But how are you doing? How have you been? I'd love to know. How has your week been?
Yeah.
What's your highlight? How have you been? Of course, yeah, stuff like that.
Okay. At the start of this, somewhere as we went along, I
Mm-hmm.
said Cerulo. I hope that does not happen to you often, you know,
Uh-huh.
because
Uh-huh.
sometimes it comes and
Let
it
me tell
goes.
you.
So
Yes.
I
What happens is,
uh-huh.
mm-hmm.
Go fast, go fast.
Okay, so shrubbing happens, imagine. It does. Except the thing is not making it happen, it's what you do when it happens. Because you're on air. So you're supposed to make it slide by so unnoticeably. Even if it was noticed, your cover up should be the best because we have to make sure that there's just so much you can do to try. And of course, for me, okay, a lot of us, it doesn't happen so often. When you talk, even the fillers, and well, they disappear with time.
I think I lost you.
Okay, I'm sorry, a phone call. Yes, I'm back. A phone call came in. Are we still on?
Yeah, we're still on.
Okay. So what happens is the cover up has to be better. So if I said something like Cerulo, I'd go like Cerulo, pardon me, Cerulo, and continue with what I'm saying. Because listeners are very sharp. If you make a big deal out of it, the way we do in this style, if you say Cerulo, why Cerulo? Of course they'll notice. So you come even live on TV, someone may shrub if they said president instead of president. Then they'd be quick to cover it up. The president instead of
President
president.
Kingston.
President Kingston. So you have to be smooth in how you cover it up. There's very little. There's a lot you can do to help with the utatanishi. If you realize your problem is with R and L, L and L, L and L, R and L, you practice more on those words, reading them in your own free time because it's personal. It's personal growth. You have to push yourself.
Yes.
Eventually, if it happens and caught you off guard, you have to ensure it's a smooth transition so that even if guys will make a big deal out of it, it will
Um,
be after you're done with the show. They're like, by the way, you said this, and not in the middle of the show because you went like, oh, president. I'm so sorry, guys. I said president instead of president.
yeah.
Now you've drawn attention to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. In that line, I have two things here for you.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is this phrase: red lorry,
Mm-hmm.
green lorry, yellow lorry.
Mm-hmm.
Red
Okay.
lorry, green
Red
lorry,
lorry, green
yellow
lorry, yellow
lorry.
lorry. Yes. So I say
I'd like you to
it.
say them 3 times really fast.
Hey. Okay. So there's red, there's green, and there's yellow. Okay.
Yes.
Red lorry, green lorry, yellow lorry. Red lorry, green lorry, yellow lorry. Red lorry, green lorry, yellow lorry.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Last one.
Uh-huh.
A big baby buggy
Uh-huh.
with rubber buggy bumpers.
A big baby what?
A big baby buggy with rubber
Buggy.
buggy bumpers. Yes, buggy, like big buggy.
A big baby. Hey, biggie. A big baby buggy with rubber buggy
Bumpers.
bumpers. A
Yes.
big baby buggy with rubber buggy bumpers. How many times?
Hold on. Let me write it down in the chat so that
Yes,
you can see it. A big
I can see it and read it. Yeah.
baby buggy with rubber
Uh-huh.
bumpers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There we go.
All right. A big baby buggy with rubber buggy bumpers. A big baby buggy with rubber buggy bumpers. A big baby buggy. I lost it again with rubber buggy bumpers. Okay.
Oh,
So should I start again?
yeah, you can take it. Take it away.
All right. All right. A big baby buggy with rubber buggy bumpers. A big baby buggy with rubber buggy bumpers. A big baby buggy with rubber buggy bumpers.
Whoa, that's Cerulo.
Haha,
Cerulo
Serara.
Morris.
Serara.
All right.
My name has so many R's.
He does.
So we try Trizzah, Cerulo.
Cerulo, you are a rubber of ours.
I'm a Rava bar. I'm a Rava bar. Yeah.
As we get close to the end, um, I thought I should ask you this one.
Mm-hmm.
Did you always want to choose
Mm-hmm.
this career? Is this what you always wanted to do?
No. I
Okay.
did not want to do radio. In fact, when I was taking my internship, I thought I'd do TV instead. And so, which, if I can say this to you, wisdom, I tell you to get your hands dirty, stretch yourself, try editing, try production, try radio, try TV, because you never know what you'll enjoy. A few of my lecturers can tell you, I was always behind on class projects that involved TV production, which should have been a wake up call. Because I thought I wanted TV. And when all my radio classes were up to date, I still enjoyed TV production. I thought I always wanted to be on TV. Then when I did my internship, I tried KTN and KBC, and their letters, the days they wanted me to report was later than I'd hoped for, because there's a certain graduation date I thought I wanted to beat. So I decided to take radio just to complete the required hours for internship and then go to TV. Then while I was doing it, I realized I actually like this. I actually enjoyed this. Wow, I really love this. And
Mm.
so it wasn't really what I thought I would do or where I'd hoped I'd be. But now that I do it. I'm glad I took the chance and did my internship in radio. I'm still hoping to do TV one day. But if it's TV, can I be genuine? I do not want to be on telly. Maybe production behind the scenes. I love production. So
No.
maybe producing a show or producing content, maybe a show for TV. If I'm to be in front of a screen, a show as well, not news. But it's funny because if I was to be told to go to TV right now, my first instinct would be, well, well. So no, it's not yet. I wanted to do journalism, but not what I'm doing right now. It's not what I wanted to do. But now that I'm here, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Okay. Agreed.
Yeah.
That's a
Mm-hmm.
very nice way to
Mm-hmm.
put it. Um I wanted TV all the way out.
Mm,
I always wanted TV.
yeah.
And then I've done 2 years at Shine, and trust me, I love
Mm-hmm.
radio. I absolutely love radio. It's
Exactly. Yeah, because even me, the reason I came to Daystar was because I had one goal: TV. I wanted TV with all that I have, all that I am, just like Jesus. I wanted TV.
yeah,
And the few times I came to Shine as a guest, because I was on Shine so many times as a guest, I'd look around and I'm like, this looks boring, but it's manageable, but okay.
yeah,
And then now I'm on radio and I'm like, yes, Lord.
yeah.
Yes, Lord. So yeah. It's interesting how things change with time
Yeah.
as you grow older.
I think maybe bottom line is just being open-minded, basically
Yes.
fulfilling the purpose of a liberal arts college where we are, where you actually
Mm-hmm.
come and you stretch yourself, like you said, you try a bit of
Yes.
this, a bit of that, and just you never know what you find out. There's a story in Daystar of this guy that came to study psychology, and he did an
Mm-hmm.
elective in business, and that one 3 hour
Mm-hmm.
elective is what changed his life. Like he got his
Shaped his
his
mind.
degree in psychology, but he's not doing that. He's doing business now because of one elective. Yeah.
Can you imagine? And as journalists and broadcasters, we cannot afford to be rigid.
No.
This field calls on you to be willing to get your hands dirty everywhere in relation to broadcast, media, and film. Because you'll be comfortable saying, "Oh, I'm a good producer," and then one day a gap arises and something needs to be done in editing, and you have to get your hands dirty. You have to, even if it's not deeply, at least have an idea of a
True.
few things here and there.
True.
You never know what you'll come across. Because Mimi, tell me to sit campus when we're doing group work. You want Trizzah to sit down and edit what?
No.
With what software? No, never. Never. Right now in the office, every time they need someone to edit audio, we are two. There's a guy in charge of Kiswahili production and there's me. And every time we need to edit something, if it's an English promo, an English advert, Trizzah is the one they go for. If it's Kiswahili, it's the other guy. And I'd be more than willing to. I
Mhm.
enjoy it. And so I go, I sit down, I look at it, I look at the audio, and I'm enjoying it. When I was in campus, find me anywhere except that position written editor. Never, never.
Yeah. Now, as we
Hmm.
wrap it up, come to a close, is there
Hmm.
anything you'd
Yeah.
like to respond to? Maybe something I haven't asked, but something you'd like to mention, or just a parting shot?
Hmm. Um, my greatest lesson is what I've just told you. Get your hands dirty. This is an industry where your growth is determined by you. You have to be aggressive, which I'm also lacking in that. I feel like there's a level of aggression I'm lacking in, which I need to push myself. Because you're in a field with Victoria Rubadiri, you're in a field with um, my personal role model is Caroline Motoko on radio. You're in a field with such established people. And so, no, I don't think an MD will want to relieve uh, Brian Aseli from PAL Radio to put at Trizzah Morris, who's just left campus, who didn't even bother to join Shine FM, who didn't even want to know what Shine FM is, who was just getting a degree and left. I don't think the head of PAL Radio is willing to let Brian Aseli go for a Trizzah Morris who has no experience, even with basic campus knowledge. And so get your hands dirty. What you can find to do it. You don't need to wait for a class project. Like what you're doing in Shine is absolutely splendid. If you can do your own podcasts, do it. Get your hands dirty. Edit things if you can. Find a group of friends and you like shooting or filming. Film a short film. Put it on your resume. Get your hands dirty. Get them as dirty as possible. And even when you get a position as an intern, be be annoying. Ask your boss, what can I do? What do you need me to do, sir? Trizzah, you're annoying. I know. Yes. Where do you need me? Trizzah, you're getting on my nerves. I know. Do you need anything edited? Get your hands dirty because you get so much experience. There's so much being offered out here. Get your hands dirty. Do it. Don't wait for a lecturer to tell you I'm giving you a project, which was me in campus. Now that I've left, I'm wondering. Are you waiting for the project for you to do the? There are projects I did outside of school with my church,
Mm.
video productions, and I love them. And they're in my resume. And when I went for my internship, even when they were choosing to retain me, they saw them and they were like, "Good job."
I
If I
saw
had decided to just sit,
I saw one of them. I think you're doing radio
uh,
news or announcements for your church on your YouTube channel.
yes, I yes, I did them for 2 years. 2 years. Of course, I posted some on YouTube, but they're not my best. The best always disappear somewhere. So as I grew. They're always disappearing. Even my best shows are not recorded. The ones that are there, I'm just like, oh my god. So do stuff, do things. Be open-minded. Don't be rigid. Be open-minded, and get your hands dirty is probably what I should be remembered for. In fact, in my gravestone one day it should be written, "Get your hands dirty." Well, because even the guys who will be burying me will be getting their hands dirty.
That's literally like
Yeah, literally. But whatever you can find to do it. Push yourself. If you wait for someone to push you, we were six interns. Allow me to say this: we were six interns, and when COVID came, interns were dismissed. I was the only intern who wasn't dismissed, because while I was interning, when I had arrived, the show that I was doing, the lady who was doing it resigned on the day I came, and so I asked to shadow for, I think, 3 weeks. I asked to shadow the person who was doing that show, which was my boss. So I asked to shadow him. So you can imagine, every day I stay at work until 10 p.m. shadowing a night show. I shadowed it for 3 weeks. And I remember my fellow interns were like, "Miss Yezi shadow show ya usiku." I know. Because we were asked if we want to shadow them. They picked the daytime shows. Trizzah said she wants to shadow the night show. And so when she was dismissed and I shadowed it for a week or two, my boss said, "You can do this show, can't you? Huh? You can do this show. Sit in."
and just like
And he left me. Do you know he didn't even give me a warning sign at "You're doing it next week." We sat and he said, "We have 10 minutes to the show." Trizzah, you can do this show. I said, "You're joking." Trizzah, you can do it. You're joking.
in your mind you're thinking he's going to be
He
right
left
there.
the studio and said, "You have 10 minutes to prep for your show." Yeah, I thought he was going to be right there. He left. He told me, "You have 10 minutes, prep for the show, find what you're discussing for the next 2 hours. I'm going to be in my office." 2 minutes to the show, it is when it hit me, he's not coming back. He is not coming back. And so I sat down and I went on air, and everything I learned in class disappeared. So I called him and asked him, "Just switch on the microphone for me." Fed me in. Everything disappeared. Just fed me in. Cue in music for me because I don't remember how to do this. And then you can go. And he did that. And that's how I got on air. Because of deciding to push myself for 3 weeks to be leaving office at 10 p.m. 10 p.m. So push yourself. Push yourself.
Thank you so much, Trizzah Morris Cerulo. Finally, I said it rightly.
If I get another name, I'll let you know. If there's another name coming in to displace the others, I'll let you know.
All right.
In due time.
Thank you for making time to help me, get good grades in this class. I'm sure Mr. Wanyonyi will be pleased to see you in this interview. And asante sana.
And I'd like, baby, if I can use this opportunity to tell him thank you. I wasn't really among the best students in Wanyonyi's class. I never really wanted to push myself. And now that I look back, I think he did a splendid job giving me an X the first time I did his first class. Because when I redid it, I remember I looked at the final exam script and I was like, I said I sat down in all his classes, and the first thing I told myself is, I don't think I can do this. And that took me down the drain. Yeah. Every time I sat in it, I took 2 of his classes, and all of them was like, I don't think I can do this. Imagine telling yourself that the entire semester. By the end of the semester, truly, I didn't do it. And I cried my eyes out. I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I'm so terrible at this. But the pressure that he gave me is nothing compared to the pressure that I've gotten outside here. And I appreciate him for that pressure. Despite me not doing anything and crying, but I cried an entire semester. 2, actually. I wish he knew. I was crying constantly. But he invigilated. He was my supervisor for internship. And all that I've been through, as much as Wanyonyi was TV, all that I've been through on radio, I thank God that I felt a bit of that pressure with Mr. Wanyonyi.
Well,
and it was amazing. So, Star, if you watch this, I'm so grateful. Thank you. Yeah.
I'll make sure he watches it to the very end. You know how people make those YouTube videos and they're like, 10 ways to kill a goat. Number 7 will shock you.
Will shock you.
So yeah, he'll definitely watch this.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Trizzah.
Thank you so much for reminding me about campus. Good day.